Hi, I'm Kari.
And I'm Adam.
And we're the Dicksons. We're excited that you've joined us on our channel, and we hope that you like and subscribe our videos. We want to share the passion that we have for the Lord on this channel, but we also want you to get to know us and where God has brought us from and to and through. So part of that is our story of how we met. I have to kind of start back in 8th grade at a church camp called Camp Beard. It's up near Gillette, Wyoming. I met a young boy at the time, I guess, named Morgan. I didn't get back in contact with him until my senior year of high school, and the only reason that kind of happened was because I was living back in my hometown of Lusk, Wyoming. I had kind of made some pretty poor choices in school in my early high school years, and I was not going to be able to graduate that year. I emailed everybody on my Hotmail.
It was a thing.
My Hotmail list of people that I thought that maybe would let me move in with them. Morgan's the only one that responds back and says that he has a roommate that is getting ready to leave on deployment, because Morgan by this time was in the Navy. He had joined the Navy after his senior year of high school. He said that if I wanted to come live out in Washington State, that I could live in his roommate's room rent-free. So, of course, why wouldn't I move out there? I hated where I lived. I wasn't going to graduate. Seemed enticing, right? Morgan was back in Wyoming on leave from the Navy, and I had just turned 18 and told my parents I was moving out. I met him at in a town a couple hours away. My parents dropped me off, probably one of the hardest days of their life, and he drove my car with me back out to Washington. So this is where you can
there's a couple things that went a little weird in that entire conversation. That the car made it to Washington from Wyoming is miraculous by itself. A piece of information that Kari didn't tell you is that nobody knew this was happening except for Kari and Morgan, and I guess Kari's parents found out eventually. But Morgan calls myself and our roommate Sean and says, "Hey guys, I got somebody coming out here in just a couple days." And we're like, "Oh, okay." And what he meant was she was moving out there in a couple days. Lo and behold, January 3rd, we just finished up the holidays, and about 8 o'clock at night, this little...
Wow, that's specific. You remember the time?
Well, I remember
that's
a lot.
Just the time of memory. Yes.
This little white Ford Tempo comes pulling up through the yard. Drove through the yard, yes. Through the yard.
Yeah, that's
right
true.
Up to the front door.
Oh my God.
And out pops out Morgan and this...
adorable, beautiful young lady. You thought it was cute.
You were okay. You were all right. Yeah.
You thought it was cute. He thought it was cute.
Anyways, so what I didn't know is that I would be her babysitter for the first couple weeks she was there, because I happened to be off on vacation during the time because I was getting ready to go on a deployment. So I got the pleasure of taking her around Whidbey Island, Washington.
I remember showing up. I remember like right outside of Seattle, Morgan calling his roommate, Adam, which I didn't know, obviously, at all who he was at the time, and saying, "Hey, we're going to be there in a couple hours." And I remember pulling up to the house, and out walks Adam, all smiles, and he's in his little windsuit.
I don't think I was wearing a windsuit.
You were wearing your windsuit?
I wasn't wearing a windsuit. It was January. I would have been wearing a winter coat.
No, it was like long... This coming from a man who wears flip-flops and shorts all year round. No, you're in a windsuit.
I doubt it.
So I'm from Wyoming, like I said, so there's not a lot of diversity there. So when Adam comes out, I remember like thinking through my mind, like, I've never seen anybody that looks quite like him. And I kind of thought you were kind of dorky.
This coming from the person who was wearing a dork hat on her head, but...
It did say dork.
Anyways.
Yeah, so like I said, he shows me around, and then he leaves shortly after. So before he left for his little workup, I wooed him so much, and he liked me so much that
That wasn't, that was, no, that was before I went on, no, you didn't.
Yes,
No.
when you left the first time, I had your phone and your car.
Absolutely not.
Yes, I did.
No, it was when I went on deployment.
Are you sure?
100%. 100%.
He's probably right. He has a much better memory than I do.
100%.
Okay, so that's coming in the story.
You already interrupted the story.
I'm going to cut this part.
I hope so. I don't even know where I was, so.
So you go in your workup.
And then I come back from my workup, and she is struggling.
I don't remember.
Let's be honest,
this
she's
part.
struggling because she's
I don't
in
remember
school.
This part.
She's
I was
trying to
senior in
find
high school.
work. Her car's muffler falls off every 5 minutes.
Wow, you have a good memory.
Yeah, well, I mean. So I wanted to be there to encourage her just because I knew that she was alone, and I had felt alone because I had just moved out to Washington, and I'm from a very large family, and I remember thinking I know how she feels being away from family just because I was away from family, and my family lived in Virginia at the time, so there really wasn't much further you could get from each other. So I wanted to make her feel comfortable because I knew that I didn't have somebody like that for me when I first got to Washington until, interestingly enough, Morgan got there, and Morgan was really the one who kind of made me feel comfortable and finding friends there. So I don't know if I told you that part. Did you know that part about our story? Anyways, so we're back. I'm probably back for a few weeks, and then I leave for a good while. But she did leave a lasting enough impression, and it was before, Facebook. So we might have had MySpace at that time. I'm not 100% certain.
No, it wasn't even out yet.
But I don't think so.
Maybe.
But we emailed back and forth pretty much every day, to the point where I don't know how many of you have ever been on deployment, but you can feel pretty lonely and pretty, isolated. Even with, I was on an aircraft carrier with 5,000 other people, but you can still feel pretty isolated there. And one of the things I looked forward to was getting emails from her or emailing her. And I was always a lot better about emailing her than she was about emailing me.
I was going to school every day.
I worked 14-hour days.
Sacrificed so much.
15-hour.
I ditched class to go email you.
Oh, so the times that she did email me, she was ditching class.
A few weeks into it.
No, that wasn't a few weeks. We messaged each other months and months. A few weeks.
You left out a very vital part of this story.
What are you talking about? The fact that you got to drive my car and you ran up my cell phone bill?
Why are you going to expose details?
Because you like to expose details. I feel like you want to be vulnerable. Have that. Vulnerable. How's that? So yes, in case you were ever wondering, it's not a great idea to let somebody borrow your car. Actually, it really wasn't a great idea because shortly after she got there, she wanted to drive my car, and I was a kid, and I had a sweet Volkswagen Jet. It was pretty nice of a car, but I had just put new wheels on it, about $1,800 wheels, and she's like, "Can I drive? Can I drive?" And I said, "Sure, you can drive."
Because my Ford Tempo wasn't cool.
And can you drive 5-speed? She's like, "I'm from Wyoming. Of course I can drive." I said,
My
"All right."
car was a 5-speed.
Okay, whatever.
My Tempo was
Your
a
muffler fell off it. That could have been like,
that was not my
been,
fault.
Whatever. Anyways, so she's driving to Walmart, and there's one curb in the entire parking lot of Walmart.
There's not. There's many
One
curbs.
curb. And what
He
does she
just
do?
remembers
With
that
my
one
brand
curb.
new rims, slams it into the side of it and puts a big chunk in the side of my rim. A big chunk out of it.
Memory.
A lasting memory is correct. Anyways, somehow I must have hit my head on the window, but somehow I was concerned that her car was going to get her to and from, and I told her every once in a while she could use my car.
I don't remember that part.
Of course she
I have a
doesn't remember
terrible
that part.
memory, like I said.
Of course. But I also knew that she had, she was from Wyoming, so the cell phone company they had is like only in Wyoming apparently. So she also
that's
only...
right. I did have a cell phone, didn't
Yes,
I?
you did.
Oh,
She did have a cell phone, but her nights didn't start until some ridiculous time. Like it was like, hey, you get unlimited minutes if you start talking after midnight and before 2 o'clock in the morning. So I told her, listen, I've got unlimited minutes after 9.
9.
Not-
But somebody told
9.
me 7. No, somebody
9.
told me 7. So as
This
soon
is-
as 7 hit, I would be like on the phone with my
Listen,
parents.
for you
and my
guys
siblings.
who are newer with phones, you didn't have to live the life where before there was unlimited minutes. But it was tragic, and you used to have to wait. Well, Most of
plus
us would
you got charged like
some of us would wait.
10 cents a minute or something for every minute before then you.
Yes. Well, some of us knew how to wait, and others of us didn't know how to wait.
I thought it was 7.
Anyways, so she did run up my cell phone bill. But I was nice, and I wanted to make sure she was taken care of, so I let her use my car every once in a while when there was something wrong with her car. And I let her use my cell phone.
Every day.
That's what she did.
Every day used his car.
That's a pound sign.
Hashtag.
It's a pound sign. Anyways, so, no, but we talked quite a bit while I was gone. We emailed pretty much every day, and it was good. You need that, and I know she was a support for me, and I hope that I was the same for her while she was finishing up graduating school. And at that point in time, it really wasn't...
I'm pretty sure the only reason I was going to school is so I could email you by that point.
I'm speechless. And at that point in time in the relationship, it really wasn't anything. Like,
no, we were just friends.
We were just friends, and she will tell you it was like I liked her right off the bat, but it really wasn't that way for me.
No, I said he thought it was cute right off the bat.
She was.
You thought it was cute.
Like you had your little cute hair. You had really short hair. It was. You had it like. Yeah, she was cute. She was cute. She's okay. Anyways, but it wasn't really anything big at that point in time. We were just friends, and I needed support, and she needed support, so we supported each other.
Yeah.
And then I remember at some point in time in the 10 months, because I was gone for 10 months on that. It was 10 months underway. It was a long time.
Yeah.
I was gone. But I remember at some point in time I started, like, anytime that you interact with somebody that much, you start to grow closer to them. And I remember saying, hey, please don't leave.
This is your birth... Oh, no. Oh, well, yeah, probably that. But you forgot your, like, whole birthday thing. Okay, so... I emailed him on his birthday, which is April 16th. And remember, I only moved out there January 3rd. So, on his birthday, I emailed him a really nice email. I wish I had the copies of them. At some point,
Which means there's no proof of this at all.
I deleted them one time when I was really mad at him. When we were early on dating.
Such a child.
I know, I was. Anyways, I was just a baby. And anyways, he said to me... I just thanked me for that sweet email because I was such a sweet girl, and said something along the lines.
You really were. I can joke all the time, but she really was pretty sweet.
And he said to me, not that he wanted to marry me, but just he said, you're the type of girl I would like to marry someday. And that was the first time I had anybody ever say anything like that to me, and I was coming from a very insecure place at that time. I had really gotten myself in relationships really only based upon looks and then wanting to be validated, so...
And she's still stuck with the looks, clearly. How...
Huh?
You still were attracted to the looks.
Yeah, that came eventually.
Whatever. And I never really was in relationships very often. I had, a girlfriend maybe in high school, but nothing really big, and then so...
Neither did I.
It was nothing really... I don't know.
You hadn't really had anything significant, and I hadn't really had anything significant. Really, just a lot of emotional attachments. That was it. Significant. But really, just both. Like for me, I definitely had relationships just really tied up in emotion, and really probably lust. So, yeah, like Adam said, I was out there. I got into high school. I was trying to graduate. I was barely making it. I was going to the attendance office and tracking my attendance to make sure that...
Yeah, she could sign herself in and out. That's a problem with our society, apparently. If you're over 18 and in school, somehow you can sign your own... I'm not...
I was just being very creative, and I'd always go get a printout of my attendance, and you can only miss up to 12 times per semester in each class. And so I would get printouts of my attendance to make sure I didn't miss more than 12 times. And so most of my classes I was like between 10 and 12 times missed, except for like choir, because I really actually liked that class.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain we're going to leave this part in here just because I don't want people to know how they can skip class and get away with it.
I was going to school. That's the thing that mattered.
She was.
And I went to school after school. I was in an after-school program to help me with some of the required classes for their district.
You know, that's something I forgot about when I first met you. I took you to all the schools around. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I took you to all the schools.
He did. He took me to all the schools around, and because there were kind of a few in the area, but so I was going out there and barely making it. Definitely looking forward to his encouragement every single day, and then
Sometimes 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah,
and
I did.
I'd be lucky to get one back.
Oh. No, but especially after he said the part about, you're the type of girl I'd like to marry someday, I just remember kind of seeing him in a new light, like, ooh, maybe I like this guy. And the thing is looking back, like, emails never crossed the line. Like, I would say they never even really became flirtatious, just friendly.
No, and I can say this, and you can believe me or you not believe me, but really when I sent that email, it wasn't, I want to marry you. It wasn't even an attraction type email. It was more of a, you're different than every other person that I've ever met kind of email. I don't know if that makes sense, but it still wasn't like, hey, I want to date you.
Yeah, and I didn't get that from that at that time. It was just kind of one of those things that I felt valued. I felt that you had saw value in me. And so then, of course, being a young girl, though, it kind of then turned
Of course.
my attention to you.
So, and looking back and even hearing it over and over again, you realize that sometime there was a paradigm shift.
That's
a
big
too
word.
big a
That's
word for you?
big
Is that
word
big?
for this
Sorry.
video.
There was a shift in our relationship, and looking back, that probably was about the time when I think maybe it was different for you. And I remember in June-ish when you were about to graduate, I remember things were going pretty bad for you, and I remember encouraging Kari, and I remember saying to her, just, hey, hold out, you'll do good. Just whatever you do,
I do remember him saying this.
whatever you do, just wait till I get back and we'll spend some time together. We'll hang out. And I remember, I don't know, what happened? Did you leave, honey? So that concludes the first part of our story.
Be looking for the second part.
The second part.
You don't want to miss the second part. Our story is very cool. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Subscribe and
like. Oh, thumbs up. Is that what it is? Okay.
Thanks, guys.